Welcome to Days of Our Recaps. And this episode is another double episode. So it is, in fact, a double door, a double Days of Our Recaps. And this episode will cover the period of June 23rd to July 4th, 2025. So the first week, June 23rd to June 27th, we have a wedding, a custody battle, and an arrest. So it starts off with Gabby and Chad having dinner. She invites him out to dinner because she wants him to take back Demira. It's their legacy and it's their way that they're going to provide for their kids. But Chad has no interest in being part of Demira. He has no interest in that. He is running the newspaper, the Salem Spectator, and he's happy doing that. They talk about Kat and how she dodged a bullet by not going on that date with EJ. And she figures out that Chad has a crush on Kat, and she's right. But he denies it still. Jennifer and Jack talk to JJ, and they say that they are staying in Salem to keep a close eye. Well, they're staying closer to Salem so that they can keep an eye on Kat Green. They don't trust her, obviously. EJ gets the memory card from Rita, and he tells the whole story to Tony about thinking that Johnny shot him and it being on the memory card. Shane follows Kat, and we find out a bit of backstory on Kat. She used to work for him. She used to work for the ISA. She was an analyst, and she investigated Clyde Weston's drug ring. Then, of course, Clyde Weston caused the car accident where she lost her father and her mother got brainwashed, and she had to have a bunch of reconstructive surgeries. Shane wants her back at the agency, and she doesn't want to at first. She says no because it cost her so much, her father and her health. But he wants her to find out how EJ got all the money to buy the hospital because it kind of came out of nowhere. Apparently, Demira Enterprises is a criminal organization, basically, with a, I guess, legitimate front where they try to do some of their legitimate business. But for the most part, it's an illegitimate business, and they've been trying to bring it down for years. So in the end, Kat accepts, but we don't really know why. Like, why does she feel the need to go back to this job that cost her so much? That's not really explained. But he kind of says, we need you. And she says, okay, but why? Like, what are they giving her? What are they offering her? It doesn't make sense. Maybe we'll find out more why she accepted. JJ runs into Gabby, and he apologizes for accusing her of shooting EJ because he knows about the hidden camera. She wants him to just take her word. So if she says she didn't do it, she wants him to take her word for it. But he's a police officer. He can't just take someone's word for it. But anyway, so they have not resolved things. They are not back together. Tony meets up with EJ and Chad, and he wants them to unite, the three of them to unite and take over Demira again. But of course, EJ wants to focus on his family and the hospital. At least that's what he says. Who knows what he really wants to focus on? And of course, Chad wants to focus on running the newspaper and his family. And so they just leave him behind, and he says, well, I'm going to have to take matters into my own hands. Chad runs into Kat, and they talk about making plans for dinner, and JJ overhears. Tuesday is the wedding. It's Paul and Andrew's wedding, and they all went to a baseball game the previous night for the bachelor party, and they're all talking about that. Marlena encourages Rachel to talk about what's bothering her because she heard Rachel talking about something in her sleep about, oh no, don't shoot. So finally, Rachel tells her that she saw Johnny and EJ arguing, but she doesn't want to tell Marlena because she's worried that Grandma Rachel will go away, because she knows that if she tells anything that could incriminate Johnny, then EJ is going to make her grandmother Rachel go away. Paul and Andrew talk about getting married, and Paul expresses worry about being apart from Andrew because they are living in opposite ends of the country. Long-distance marriage. Brady and Eric set up for the wedding. Brady asks Eric what's happening with Nicole, and Eric is evasive. He doesn't really say what's going on with Nicole, so we don't know if those two are together or apart. Shane talks to Tate about the adoption, asks him if he's having second thoughts, and Tate says no, he's not. Kayla and Steve have a romantic morning inspired by the manuscript. So Kayla read the manuscript that Stephanie, her daughter, wrote, and they have a romantic morning inspired by this manuscript that her daughter wrote. Of course, she doesn't know that her daughter wrote it, but ew. And then we have the wedding, Paul and Andrew's wedding ceremony, and it's lovely. Wednesday, Sophia is meeting with Melinda, and she wants to hire Melinda. But at the end of the episode, Basically, Brady warns Melinda to stay away from his family, so Melinda says that she can't work for Sophia. Sarah tells Stephanie that she wants to find out who destroyed her marriage by telling Xander the truth. And that was telling Xander that she knew about the fake inheritance. Alex tells Johnny that Titan DiMera might go under. They are having a hard time right now financially. Xander sold a bunch of assets to buy the hospital because he was assuming that he would win the bid and he would buy it. And also the press has been really hard on Titan DiMera because they thought that Xander, one of the CEOs, beat Philip, the other CEO. So they're having a financial time right now. Xander asks Johnny to work in Gabby Chic in the publishing division, making ads. Marlena talks to Roman about Rachel's revelation that she saw EJ and Johnny arguing and that Johnny had a gun. And then that's when Roman tells her about his gun going missing and him assuming that it was Johnny that took it. Xander meets with Melinda to help him get full custody of Victoria. He thinks that he would be the best full-time dad for Victoria. I don't know, a CEO of a big company and also like an ex-con. He thinks he'd be the greatest full-time father. Anyway, he asks her to go outside of the law to do this, and Melinda's very comfortable going outside of the law. Marlena and Roman confront Johnny about what they know about Rachel's revelation and also about the gun going missing, and he admits that he took Roman's gun. He went to the mansion that night and he pointed it at EJ, but then they talked and he gave the gun to EJ and left. So we find out it was not Johnny that shot EJ, and I knew that all along. I just knew it. It was someone else who shot EJ with Roman's gun and then stashed the gun in the planter outside the mansion. We'll find out who that is, I guess, at some point. Stephanie is at the hospital and she finds her manuscript sitting on a table and she realizes that Alex has given it out or given it away and she confronts him about it. And then we have Xander asking Brady if he'll change his vote for the hospital acquisition. Thursday, we have Sarah and Xander arguing about custody. This is an ongoing theme for the next few weeks. They're going to argue about custody because they both think that they should have full custody. Johnny goes to see Gabby about working on the holiday campaign, and they come up with some ideas, and he suggests that she model for the photos. Kate and Roman give their support to Marlena, so she's obviously having a hard time with everything that's going on, with losing her husband, and then finding out about Rachel seeing Johnny and EJ arguing, and they give their support to her. Brady talks to Belle about Rachel Blake being found. This is Kristen's mother. And so she goes to talk to EJ and ask him, what did he know about Rachel Blake's disappearance? Well, he says that he used his resources to find her. So he doesn't admit to kidnapping her or whatever. He just says that he used his resources to find her. Very clever. Marlena and Brady talk about Rachel and Johnny. Marlena says that they should tell EJ that his son didn't shoot him, basically. Belle wishes she had gone to the police about the memory card, but she doesn't know, obviously, that EJ has it. Brady and Sarah talk about Rachel, and we're reminded of the story that happened a few years ago wherein Sarah thought that she was Rachel's mother for the first year of her life. So there was a switched at birth story where she had Kristen's daughter and Kristen had thought she lost her daughter. Anyway, so they talk about how they are definitely going to keep this information from Rachel, so obviously she is going to find out. Gabby is talking to Johnny, and she hears his voice, and she realizes that it was him that she heard arguing with EJ the night of the shooting. She hears his voice, and she recognizes it from the person who was arguing with EJ that night. Gabby tells Rafe that it was Johnny who was arguing with EJ the night of the shooting, so Rafe goes to ask Johnny if he was the one who was arguing with his father the night of the shooting. And Johnny says yes. EJ goes to Kayla to complain about the hospital board voting again, because they're going to vote again to see if the new owner will be EJ or Xander, because Xander complained. Xander thinks that the hospital vote wasn't fair because he was arrested at the time, and so people obviously wouldn't vote for someone who was arrested. We'll see how that goes. Kate agrees to work for Titan DiMera because she basically wants to protect Philip's legacy. Philip is Victor's son. He is the heir to half of the Titan DiMera fortune, and so she wants to work there as the editor-in-chief to protect his legacy. Jada sees Stephanie's manuscript and offers to read it and give feedback. Philip tells Xander that he knows that Xander tried to smother him. He woke up and he saw Xander trying to smother him. And he says that if Xander ever tries to kill anyone ever again, Philip will tell everybody everything he knows about Xander being an attempted murderer twice. Kat has Chad over for dinner, but she gets a message from Shane that she has to work that night. Again, why is she agreeing to this? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out later. So she has to kind of make up a story about why she has to end their evening early. So she says that her sister Felicity needs her. Rafe talks to Jada and tells everything about Johnny and the shooting and Gabby being at the mansion that night. And obviously Jada is upset that he knew all this stuff and didn't tell her first. But they're not a couple anymore, so it doesn't matter. He can withhold anything he wants now. Stephanie agrees to have her book published as long as no one finds out that she is the real author. We'll see how long that lasts. EJ and Johnny are talking, and EJ says that no one has to know he shot him. And Johnny is like, "What? I didn't shoot you." And at that moment, they realize that they have been misunderstanding each other. So Johnny didn't know that EJ thought that he shot him, and EJ didn't know that Johnny didn't shoot him. So this kind of helps resolve some of the issues they're having because Johnny is very touched that his father would protect him and not tell anyone that he thought he shot him. This kind of thaws their relationship a bit, and they have a hug. They kind of start to resolve things between them. Kat goes to work for the ISA that night, and she is going to meet her new partner. And her new partner happens to be Rafe. And Rafe now works for the FBI. And so they are going to be working. The ISA and the FBI are going to be working together to figure out where EJ got all the money to buy the hospital. Back to Philip and Xander. He also warns Xander that because Titan DeMira is having financial trouble, he had better save Titan DeMira, or else he'll have nothing to lose by telling everyone how Xander tried to kill him. Because if the company goes under, there's no money, there's no inheritance, there's nothing stopping him from telling everyone what Xander did. The hospital vote goes ahead and EJ wins again. So EJ is again confirmed to be the new owner of the hospital. And the big cliffhanger for the end of Friday is Johnny being arrested for the attempted murder of EJ. Jada shows up and tells him that he's under arrest. Now we are into the second week, so June 30th to July 4th. And in this week, EJ and Johnny grow closer, Chanel and Paulina grow apart, and Sophia has her baby. Monday, we have Gabby, who is worried that if she has to testify against Johnny in a trial, then EJ will bring his full wrath against her and make her life even more difficult. EJ tries to defend Johnny to Jada, so Jada is arresting Johnny, and EJ tries to say, "No, don't arrest him. He didn't shoot him. He didn't shoot me. I'm the victim, and I'm vouching for him." But Johnny is still arrested. And so it was Paulina who recommended arresting Johnny because Belle went to Jada with the information about the memory card and the memory card going missing. And then Jada went to the mayor, who's Paulina, and it was Paulina who made the final call and said that Johnny should be arrested, although Belle believes that he is innocent. Johnny is brought to the station, and Rafe arrives, and he is pretty mad that Jada would do her job and arrest someone who is credibly accused of murder or attempted murder. So he, for someone who used to be a police commissioner, he should know that she is just doing her job and that Johnny does not get special treatment. Chanel sees Johnny being arrested and asks EJ what's going on, and Chanel gets very upset at Paulina because she allowed, or she recommended that Johnny be arrested. Again, people not understanding that these people have to do their jobs. But anyway, she is upset at her mother, Paulina, the mayor, for having Johnny arrested. Gabby tells Ariana about Johnny being arrested because he is her uncle? Yes, uncle. Marlena talks to Roman, and Roman talks about how he felt he had to protect Johnny by hiding the gun, because after the gun went missing, he wiped the fingerprints off and hid it because he didn't want Johnny to get in trouble. But he needs to do the right thing, and he goes and brings the gun to the police. EJ wants to basically get involved in the case for Johnny. He tells Belle that he thought Johnny shot him until that day, but knowing that Johnny didn't shoot him, he is going to do everything he can to interfere in the case to get Johnny free, legal and otherwise. Tuesday, Ariana goes to the pub to see Doug to basically hit on him and see if they can hook up later. And she orders the stinkiest meal. She orders a tuna melt and steamed broccoli. Now, that is confidence. If you're going to hook up with someone and you order a tuna melt and steamed broccoli before you hook up, that is confidence. EJ meets with the judge, and he gets permission to be Johnny's lawyer. And he also manages to get Belle unrecused from the case. So Belle is the district attorney. She is Johnny's aunt, and she recused herself from the case. But EJ talks to the judge and somehow gets her unrecused. So I wonder what he has on that judge. Brady tells Rachel about Johnny's arrest, but she's not very surprised because she thinks that Johnny shot EJ. He tells her that if the police need to talk to her, that she should just tell the truth. And now that Rachel has told the truth about what she knows, Kristen is worried that EJ is going to go after her. Tate and Sophia hang out, and she wants him to stay, but he doesn't want to stay, so he leaves. Back at the pub, Doug gets a threatening note, and instead of having his hookup meeting with Ariana, he sort of kicks her out abruptly, and she doesn't know what's going on, but he has just received his threatening note and doesn't want her to get involved. Rachel, Kristen, and Brady watch a movie together as a family. EJ is now Johnny's lawyer for the trial. So EJ, the victim in this crime, is going to be the lawyer for the accused person. And his aunt is going to prosecute him. Got that straight? Okay. Chanel talks to EJ and warns him, basically, do not make Johnny choose between us, and she pays his bail. And then Sophia goes into labor for real. She is really having her baby. Wednesday, we have Steve, who is now unretired, and he is getting closer to finding the necklace. And Doug is still being threatened by the loan sharks. Holly wants to go to Europe for university. And Javi starts his new job as a firefighter paramedic. Sophia has had her baby very quickly. She went to labor, had her baby, and she decides that the best thing for him is to take him to a safe haven box where she can safely drop the baby off, and then they will take care of her, and it's anonymous. And so she does that. She thinks it's the best thing to do. And Javi brings the baby to the hospital to be checked out. Rather than the baby going to a foster home, Javi brings the baby home, and him and Leo are going to look after the baby until a foster parent or some other more permanent situation is going to happen. So they are now foster dads. The necklace is on its way back to Salem. It's been located. And Holly goes to see Tate, and they get back together. They admit their feelings for each other and get back together. Sarah talks about her conflicted feelings with Maggie. She has very conflicted feelings about Xander. She loves him, but she hates him at the same time. And Maggie relates it to her love for Victor. Both Maggie and Sarah were in love with walking red flags because Victor was a big walking red flag. And Maggie married him and loved him. And Sarah is with Xander, or she was with Xander. Big red flag, ex-con, lots of problems. So, if anyone can relate to what Sarah's going through, it's Maggie. Doug runs into Julie, and she tells him off again, and he says he's leaving town. Thursday, Sophia goes to meet Melinda for help. She's had the baby. She's dropped the baby at the safe haven box. And Melinda takes her out of town to a doctor so that she can get checked out to make sure that she's okay, and gives her a fake belly to wear. Javi and Leo are doing the foster parenting thing. Tate and Holly plan a date. Xander goes to the Kiriakis mansion to see his daughter, and he does visit with her, but not before having a run-in with Maggie, and they tell each other off. Brady and Sarah have lunch at the pub, and they confide in each other. They talk about Rachel seeing EJ and Johnny arguing. And they talk again about how Sarah was Rachel's mom for a year. Again, super secret. They're not going to tell her, but of course, she will find out. Holly talks to Maggie about getting back together with Tate, and Maggie gives her a little warning that Tate and Sophia will always be close because they had a baby together, so just to keep that in mind. And that kind of puts a damper on Holly's happiness at getting back together with Tate. Friday, Brady asks Marlena for advice for Rachel testifying, and Marlena says that Rachel should just tell the truth and be honest. Abe visits Chanel to give her some support because her husband was arrested and he's going to be going on trial for attempted murder. Belle and Paulina are at work, even though it's July 4th, but they're both working. And that's when we find out that the judge unrecused Belle from the case. EJ and Johnny meet to talk about the case and go over bits of evidence and what they know so far. While at Marlena's, Kristen starts ragging on Johnny and Will, and then Marlena tells her right off and leaves because she needs some air. Paulina talks to Belle and worries that EJ will corrupt her because now that Belle and EJ are out in the open with their relationship, Paulina's worried that EJ will make her as crooked as he is, basically. While talking about the case, EJ wants to point the blame at Kristen for shooting him. He still doesn't remember who shot him, but if he's going to point the blame at anyone, it will be Kristen. Alex encourages Stephanie to focus on her writing career instead of her PR career. She has a career as a public relations person, and he says, why don't you quit that and focus on writing? And she mulls it over. Kate talks to Alex and says that she can't work for Titan because Johnny's trial. She's going to be busy supporting Roman, and Roman's going to be supporting Johnny, so she needs to help run the pub. But then she finds out that Stephanie wrote the manuscript. Stephanie lets it spill out that she was the one that wrote it. And Alex and Stephanie beg her to change her mind. And she says, you know what? I am going to change my mind. I'm going to go work for Titan Tamira. Paulina and Chanel hash it out. Chanel is still mad at Paulina for having Johnny arrested. And Paulina is saying that, she had to do her job. She had to make sure everything was above board. And I can see both their points. Chanel isn't happy about Johnny and EJ making up because their relationship is thawing and she is not happy about it. She doesn't want EJ involved in Johnny's life because he messed up their adoption. Belle gets an envelope with the memory card in it, so someone has given her this memory card. To close off the episode, EJ talks to Kristen and basically tells her to make sure that Rachel doesn't testify against Johnny, or else bad things will happen to her mother or someone else that she cares about. So that was all the drama from June 23rd to July 4th, 2025. Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our recaps.